Hi, James. Thank you so much for joining us for the initial Hospitality Talks vlog that we're going to be putting up in the KAM Media YouTube channels. The whole idea is that I'm going to speak to a business leader in hospitality once a day, just for 5 minutes during this ever changing situation that we find ourselves in, and just get a bit of a view from the ground as to what's going on in your business, what you think is going on in the industry, and what you think the future looks like, which obviously we already know is impossible to predict at the moment. So do you want to just start by introducing yourself, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, so as you said, my name is James Hacon. First of all, thank you so much for having me on, Katie. I run a company called Think Hospitality. We fundamentally do three things. We have a consulting business, and we work with businesses all over the world on strategy and helping them move forward. We have an investment business and have about 7 investments, of which 2 are major investments. And then the third thing we do is run events around the world relating to hospitality.
Right. So obviously you've got quite a selection of businesses there. So my first question really is, what's the current situation in those businesses? You know, what have been the immediate effects that you've seen from the coronavirus situation?
Yeah, I think as for anybody, it's been one hell of a week, right? Busy time. In terms of Think Hospitality, from a consulting perspective, as you might imagine, we went from 17 live projects to 2 overnight, and it means that we're fundamentally put any of the paid full-time employees on the furlough scheme from the government, which is a real positive thing from our perspective. Within our most significant investment, it's called I Am Donna. It's a 3-site kebab business in the north of England, and we did everything we could to try and keep that going. We started off to begin with moving to delivery and trying to drive the takeaway, taking the seats out of the business. We put 30-minute checks in place in terms of hygiene, and really driving that hard. Created a drive-through by taking over a lay-by outside of one of our units. But we quickly found that the challenge actually was going to be the team and the ability for the team to carry on working, particularly with 50% of people either being off sick, isolating, any of these things, which meant it was just moving so dynamically. On top of that, we then saw McDonald's and Nando's and these big players come out and say, well, actually, we're not opening for the sake of our team. And it's very hard for a smaller player like ourselves to then continue opening, because what message does that send to our team? That we don't care? And I think that it's a real hard balance that we're seeing happening right now on this whole takeaway piece and delivery, because of course people do want it and there are key workers that need it. And in fact, I was speaking to my brother this morning, who's a truck driver, and he said it's now become impossible for him to go to the toilet while out on the road because none of the toilets are open, and it's become impossible for him to eat. And I think that these are real struggle, because he's got targets to hit and he needs to be able to get food quickly. He can't queue at supermarkets. So I think it's a real dynamic situation. I'll be pretty honest, Katie, the business we set up in Slovakia just 4 months ago, 5 months ago, there hasn't been the level of support there like there has here. And we have had to put our business into administration in the last few days.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's terrible for the team there, of course.
Sorry, say that again.
It's terrible for the team there, and I really wish that there was something more we could do. But as such a fledgling business, it wasn't in a good place to go into this challenge.
I think this is one of the issues that we're seeing in hospitality, isn't it? Because a lot of the businesses that we see in hospitality are new and they're vibrant and they're run by entrepreneurs, which is great in the previous market. But in the current situation we're in now, a lot of those businesses just aren't set up to deal with such a massive change and fundamental change to the way that everybody is doing business. With regards to Think Hospitality, James, what adaptations have you made there? I mean, obviously there's a few things that we've talked about working on, but, you know, for a business, you know, ours is the same. It's a research business. We went from having, you know, a lot of projects on to only having a few. What adaptations have you made to Think to make sure that it continues when all of this is over?
Good question. I mean, we are fundamentally a partnership business. We have 9 partners based in different parts of the world, and my immediate advice to the team within our calls was buckle down. So we personally went about trying to reduce our own outgoings individually. The reality is that from as far as I can see, for the next 6 months at least, I imagine 3 or 4 months of what we're sitting in now one way or another, and then the lag of that, I think that we will have very little to no work. So I think that we are sitting waiting for the government's support from a freelance and from a self-employed perspective. But ultimately, we made a decision that we can either sit around doing nothing or we can try and help. And we did the latter. We helped. We tried to push the lobbying. We tried to communicate. I think we've probably spoken to 50 to 60 small business owners, just helping them through this and being a sounding board. And that's really been the most we can do. I think one thing we have done is been back to a few of the clients that are maybe in a slightly better position and said that actually, look, we're happy to do work for you and invoice in December or January, because frankly, we're better to do something on hope than nothing at all in terms of paid work right now. So on a kind of pure business perspective, that's what we've been driving towards. But I think more than that, we got together with a number of partners, including yourself, and we worked with Flow Hospitality, who we work with closely, to create a concept called Hospo Live. My worry was this: lots of people, you're seeing Jonathan from JD from London Union, you're seeing Charlie McVeigh, lots of other people doing great stuff, getting the messaging out from a business perspective. And I was really worried. I grew up in our sector, and I know personally firsthand how difficult it will be for people who have been working 50 hours a week in a bar, in a restaurant, in a kitchen, to suddenly go from high energy to absolutely nothing. And I'm worried about people's mental health and well-being, and that's why we created Hospo Live, which is going to broadcast several hours a day. We're hoping five to 6 hours a day every weekday, with wellness, fitness, insights. I know that you're going to deliver something every week for us. We've got some really big names already agreed: Sarah Willingham, Mr. Lyon from a cocktail and bar perspective. We've had Jeremy King agree a little while ago. And we really, really want to create content that people really love and that will help them stay inspired and motivated, because ultimately we will need them at the end of this, and we owe it to our colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you. And for anyone that's listening to stroke watching this, we will also post a link as to how you can get involved and how you can make sure that you have access to that amazing initiative that I think will help businesses, the people in businesses, and the industry as a whole. So I think that's a real great positive. So just finally, James, I don't even know why I'm asking this, because I don't think you're going to have the answer, but what do you think the future looks like? What does the new normal look like when we come out of all of this?
I think there's going to be some key challenges, right? I think the key challenges will come around what is the future of the office. I think as we're getting used to more and more people from working from home, which we saw, is there going to be a mass exodus of office locations? I think is going to be one of the significant things that we need to consider. I think the second thing is probably around travel, and particularly corporate travel. If people have been used to doing this and engaging online for so long, is it going to be that corporate travel declines? These are things that are going to potentially impact our market and our industry, as far as I see. But I think we will see a bounce back, a significant bounce back of people who are used to dining out several times a week, not doing so, having been stuck at home for several months, going back out and enjoying their time. And I think that that's why it's great the support we're having from the government compared to others. I know that it may not have ticked every box for everybody, and it may feel slow, but compared to other colleagues and partners who are in other parts of the world, I feel extremely lucky to know that I think we will bounce back quickly. There will be casualties, and I'm sure that's the case. And I think that let's just hope that we come through with as fewer casualties as possible.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, James, and I look forward to seeing what Think Hospitality does next, and for getting my first ever kebab in I Am Donna when you reopen.
Thank you so much, Katie. Great to talk to you.
Thanks a lot. Speak soon. Bye.
Bye.